Welcome one and all to episode 36 of D&D with Mike.
And with Zoe.
And today we are going to carry on with the game over screen. That's our first priority.
And then we're going to put 6 players in the game.
Yeah, sure, if we've got time.
Yeah.
6 or 8, I don't know. We'll see.
Well, 8 is going to be like chaos.
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 Alright. So, right, game over. So we should have a debug log somewhere that detects that somebody's won. It usually happens when you cross the line. So let's go Control F and go 1 or something. There we go. There it is. Test end game. Oh, well, isn't that lovely? So if a player has reached the target score, which I'm guessing only happens, I'm guessing this gets called only when you cross the line, then we check who has won. Now we can do this a bit cheaply, or we can do it a bit more properly. So let's take a look about doing this more properly. So we got these various screens over here. For example, the menu screen. Let's go take a look at it. There it is. So here's our menu screen. Oh yeah, wait. Important stuff. Important announcement. In my spare time, I decided to do a few things that are just cosmetic that we were supposed to do for a while already.
Change the text and add logos.
Yes, so I've added this logo here and written something down. Then there's this logo, which I've made using GIMP. It's not much work really, just, you know, took some of the assets, put them randomly and made a pic out of it. Made a material that's transparent, or fade as they call it. Now I'm going to click anywhere and I'll leave the logo up here. I've changed the font for everything, as you can see. I'm going to click here. This font I left alone because it was clearer.
Then it worked much better.
I've played around with the materials a little bit to make things visible, or to my liking, I suppose. And as you can see, I've made the cars much more metallic in their material. And there's another font that is the same as before, or yet another one. Yeah, it's the font on top of the car. We chose one that is a lot more sort of digital, because it's a lot easier to read. And that's that. So these are the only changes that I've made while you guys weren't looking. Okay, so now we need to make a screen that's similar to the menu screen, just for game over. It needs to have the exit button, and then we need to have, in my opinion, some kind of podium.
Podium, so first, second, third, and fourth?
Yeah, something like that. Now, there are many ways of doing that. Let's think this through. So, podium. How would we do that? Well, there's a few cheating things that we can do, and I think that would probably be a decent idea. Probably be a decent idea. So let's go to our models and create a model just for the podium. Okay, it's going to be something fairly similar to this stuff, but we're gonna make it very, very, very simple. We're gonna cheat a bit.
There's the board.
So this is the board. This is various stuff. Now we should use the car as an example to know how big this thing needs to be. So hit Shift C to place yourself in the center. Hit Shift A to break things. Shift A. Shift A.
I'm trying. Shift A. There.
Shift A. Mesh. Cube. Okay.
Wait.
Now hit Tab.
Tab.
A to unselect all. Z. B. Okay, I'm going to change the position of this to a Z of 0. Now let's see how fat this is. It's not long enough for the car. So hit A again, S, Y, Control, hold it.
So we'll have tall.
So we'll have these boxes, which we'll be able to elevate by simply increasing their scale on one of the axes. I think in Unity it's going to be the Y, but we'll see. And yeah, that's it. And let's say that this is the smallest possible size.
The smallest?
I don't know. Maybe we should make it smaller even. A. No, A, not Shift. A.
Oh, sorry.
B.
B.
Okay, let's put this at 0.5. Okay, save. Okay, now this one we're gonna call podium. Podium.
And we're probably going to put text on it saying first, second, third, and fourth, or fifth, or sixth.
Sure, or just underneath it. Copy.
Yeah.
Paste. Enter. Save. Okay, let's put a bit of order here. I'm just gonna minimize all of these. Save again.
We have a lot.
It's not that many, just a few models. Okay, so here's a little box, and it's got the important bit for the people at home is we are at home too. Is that the center of the object is at the bottom of it, and you'll see why this is important very soon. So let's go here. Now let's also show our game over screen.
And not show the menu.
It's fine, you can stay there at least for now. In fact, I think I'm going to steal at least something from the menu or the board or something, just so we can clearly see where stuff is. Yeah, so duplicate this board. There. That's where it is, right? That's where all of the stuff is. We need to keep the dimensions more or less the same. So now, okay, and hold shift, delete, and now I only left the board. There's a few small bugs I just noticed between the buttons, the UI, and the rest, because they are using materials that are standard. They have shadows enabled, both receiving and sending. One thing we're also going to remove is, no, that's fine. It's just got a mesh filter, mesh render. It doesn't have any script, so that's fine. One thing we're going to do for sure is we are going to go to our buttons here and select the button, copy, and we're gonna paste it here. Now it's gonna show us all of the buttons. Now these should be all buttons. No, they're not all buttons. They don't all have stuff in common. Or maybe they do. Yes, I think they do. Well, it's fine. So these are all of our buttons in all of our screens. And I'm simply going to tell them...
What about those two buttons?
I'm tell them not to cast shadows off and not to receive shadows. And now you see that there's only one shadow on the board.
Which is the shadow?
And it's the shadow of this logo.
So receive shadows and cast shadows.
Yeah, but first look for logo right here. Type logo. That's good enough. Hold shift. Okay. Off, off. Okie dokie. There. Save. So now our game over screen has a board as a starting point, and now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add the podium parts. Okay? And we're gonna have to be able to instantiate podium bits and put them in certain places depending on how many players we have. So this is gonna involve a little bit of math, and therefore we're also going to need some kind of centralized script like a singleton for the game over. Let's begin with that. So here we're gonna do create script and rename this one game over manager. Yeah, now the first thing we do before we open it or anything, we go to Visual Studio. We're just gonna say, stuff has happened, a new script has been added. We're gonna reload the solution. Okay, now it's done everything. Now there will be no errors when we double click it. Okay, one thing I just remembered is I need to stop the syncing of my buddy Dropbox here. There we go. Okay, so we don't need any of this script. Give it a save. Let's create a singleton. So public static game over manager script. Semicolon. Skip the tata. Okay. Void awake. Script is this. Semicolon. Alright, so that's good. So we got our little game over script. Now we're gonna put our game over script or our game over manager script onto our game over screen. There it is. Okay, awesome. So let's create an empty here, which we're gonna call podium container. Yeah. Now let's see where it is compared to the board. This guy, it's up there. So I'm gonna put it on the board, and I'm going to reset its position. And now I can drag it out. There. So this is looks a bit silly. This minus 0.7, I'm guessing, and y is 11. I'm guessing. Me? I don't know. I'd just like you to be in the center, really. Okay, rotation minus 150. No, we don't need that. Let's see. Local. Oh! Oh! Alright, because we are... yes, that's good. Because we are attached to the camera, so we have weird rotations. That's fine, that makes sense. Okay, so now there it is, it's ready. What we're going to do now is we're going to start creating some kind of podium prefab. So let's see if we have any easy prefabs that we can duplicate. Probably the tile object is a decent enough prefab.
What's the cube?
Which cube?
I saw a thing that said cube
CPU. CPU control point.
Oh yeah, that was the
Yeah, we actually never used
start.
it, so we might as well use this one. Okay, rename this one to podium column. Yep. Okay, so we got a podium column. Let's drag it in here. The first thing we'll change is
the cube. It's not a cube.
From the cube, we want the podium. There it is. Okay, you can see that it's rotated the wrong way. All right. So let's put it inside the podium container here, and let's reset size.
Oh, it's huge.
So it's humongous. Now we're gonna make it smaller. 0.2, 0.2, 0.2. So this is not ideal.
It's hanging over the ground.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm not sure why, actually. There's no elevation here. Maybe the podium could... Ah, right. Let's try this. Nope. Okay, put it on the board again. Put it at 0. Whoa, hello. Where are you? Oh, right here. Put it at 0 on the board. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it inside the board. It's gonna be easier, frankly. Okay, so here's the podium container column. Now I don't like this because we're gonna need to resize this guy. So it's not ideal to have this, even though it's not a big deal. Now watch this.
Is that for first?
It goes up, see? And it doesn't go underneath. That's because we've put the center of our object here. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we're going to duplicate this podium column, put it inside itself, rename this to model, hit enter, and on this guy we're gonna say 1, 1, 1, and
okay.
On this guy we're gonna say 0.2 tab, 0.2 tab, 0.2. Okay, now podium column, remove component, and now this guy has a separate model, but when you grow this from 1, it goes up. So we can use simple multipliers. Suppose that our highest multiplier is 16. That's how it would look like. Okay.
I think that would go out of the...
So if we hit play now and just wait for a moment, just give it time to get to the menu. Okay, so let's pause here and let's just display game over. That's how it would look like. So let's actually hide the menu. There, that's one column, right? And we can put a car on it. So that would be perfectly fine. Now,
and then here on the board underneath, it would say first.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure how I feel about the angle of everything here. I think I would like to have a much more horizontal angle. So because we don't have gravity, we don't need to worry about any of that. We can take our board and literally rotate it about. It wouldn't be a problem. We could do this. Right? Let's just dock the game over here. Okay, so that's how it looks like. We can rotate even more. There, I think that's pretty decent.
Except then let's move this forward. No, wait, I forgot. It's much bigger
I
in
have
the
no idea what you're talking about.
real game.
Okay, so we can move this. No, I think here is pretty good. Yeah, say -1 or whatever. Even 0. Nah, probably -1 is better. Okay, here we go. Tell you what, let's do -2 so it leaves us room for a title up there. Right? But there we go. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Now, what's the problem? That we have done this during...
We can copy component, right?
That's right. So we can copy the component, paste component values. And there we go. So now this all looks weird to us human beings because it's all like bent weirdly, but it will work with the camera. Now we could have moved the camera. There's loads of more intelligent things you could do than this. As usual, right? There's a lot of hacking going on here because we're not that interested in making an actually good game. We're making a game just for fun, pretty much. Okay, so down to 1 we go.
Splat.
Here's the little podium, and we'll put them side by side when we instantiate them. Does the podium need anything else? I don't think so.
It needs a text.
Oh, right, good point. So let's...
and there's a text that's needed up there too.
Just duplicate this text. Actually, I don't like this text. Let's take the text from the player. So the player should have a text container, that's pretty good. So just duplicate the text container, put it in here, delete the player, reset everything. Ah, mastodontic first. Super first. Text position, sure, that's fine. Now, by the way, I think I've changed the text here not to have spaces because this font is spaced better than the previous one. Okay, so we can put this text container. Now we just need to figure out how to place it and where to place it. Now the text position is already weirdly rotated, so we're just going to like turn everything that's 0 here and see what's going on. So it's just upside down, it's no big deal. We're going to actually move the text container. I'm confused about, so the podium colon is there, the model is there, and for some reason when on 0, because the text itself is actually moved all over the place. Okay, now it's a bit better, it's a bit more controllable.
Is there the Z thing?
Wait a moment,
happening?
So auto size, yes, Z fighting's happening right now. So we're gonna now make it smaller. Whoa, hello, I meant smaller, not like a ton smaller. Try 0.2. That's pretty good. Height 0.1 probably. To 0.15. Okay. Now we need to rotate the entire text container on the X by 180, and that should be sufficient. Now we can move it down a bit. Okay, it's right there. Whoops, wrong axis. And now I want to move it up a bit. Right there. Okay. So that's not too bad. It's still not greatly spaced. So let's rotate it a bit less, like this. There. It's not terrible, but it's inside the ground a bit. Aha, there will be a problem. Watch. If we take the podium column and increase its size, whoop, wrong axis. Does that? Watch the text.
The text is funny though.
The text is warping all over the place. How do we do that? So the only way that we can deal with that is by creating an empty space for the model. So we're going to create another empty inside here. Rename this one to model container. And then we'll make this one larger. So now if we increase the size of the model container,
and the text doesn't.
the text is unaffected because it's not a child. Okay, so let's
But I think we should
hide the menu so we can see a bit better. What should we change?
I think we should change the color of the podium because it's kind of hard to read the first.
Yeah, that's fair. It doesn't even have material for now. I mean, it's got the default one. So let's go to UI, duplicate the button, rename this one to podium. And now let's just assign the podium to the model. Okay, so this is a very odd brown orangish color.
That's a very bright orange.
I think we need a semi-dark color, maybe gray. Gray looks really boring though. Yeah, I think we should have something. It cannot be any of the 4 colors of players, but then again, we plan on adding more players, therefore there's going to be more colors, so...
That's a problem. If we want to add 8, we're going to have to add purple, pink, orange, green, all sorts of colors.
We'll see. So, yeah, we'll just leave it green, I suppose, gray, and it should be okay. So, this text container, I'm going to switch to local. Oh dear, both are terrible. So I'm just going to try and drag it up a bit, and then back a bit, and then down a bit. There. That should more or less do. It's still a little bit big, this thing, because, yeah, I don't know that it's going to fit. I'm a little bit tempted to making the entire podium a little bit larger. Say 1.5. 1.5. 1.5. Now let's mock it up, see how it would look like if we had many. So hit Control D, say 7 times. Go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay. Release. Hold Control. Okay, release. Hold Control. Release. Hold Control. Release. Hold Control. Release. Hold Control.
Sorry.
Hold Control. Release. Hold Control. Release. Hold Control. Release. Okay, so that's how they look like. It's not that bad, but the text is definitely fighting a little bit, but I do think these guys could use a little bit more room. So first of all, let's just change their sizes to 2. Okay. And now let's go one by one. Hold Control. Okay, let's leave this one, say here. Okay, this one, hold Control. Yeah, release. Hold Control. 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 Release. And hold Control. And release. Okay.
It's coming off the board.
Yeah, I can see that. But it's not a huge deal. We can move these all a little bit. I don't think you can actually do it all at the same time. Plus, right now we're not doing this mathematically, so now that we have an even number, like 8, it's actually not going to be correctly spaced. Or will it be? It looks correctly spaced. I guess that an odd number wouldn't be then, right? This isn't too bad. I quite like this. I don't know how I feel about the text though. It feels too large to me. So this is how it would look like maximized. Yeah, I think that the text looks large and difficult to read based on where it is. So I'm going to go to all of the texts.
Control?
Not for now. If you guys hear screaming, it's because it's my son. That's how it works. Okay, wait, text container, that's the one. No, we want to change the text. Okay, don't hold anything. Copy, paste. Okay, hold shift, release. Okay, so on this one, what we can do is we can make the width smaller, so 0.1. Aha, now that's nicer. And sure, I'll leave this at 0.15. Now, I don't know. Let's hold Control here and go through all of these text containers. In the end of the day, we'll only be saving one, obviously, but it's useful to see them in context. So 180. Okay, these are flat on the ground, so let's do plus 90. This should, whoops.
Plus minus 90.
90. All right, there we go. So 90 is not too bad. Now let's drag them up. Oh yeah, that's up is going to be the Z, because everything gets crazy when you're working with Blender a little bit. For some reason, Blender decided that it makes sense to have the Z pointing up. Now you can change that in your settings, as I've said many times, or at least a few times, I'm not sure. I simply don't mess with them. I can't be asked to figure out what they need to be like and so on. Okay, so we clearly have a little bit more room. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna increase the size of the model a little bit, so it's a bit thicker. And then we're gonna put the cars on them, no problem. So let's go back to here, hit A,
Oops, I pressed shift again.
A again, S, X, hold control. Okay, save. Fatty. Okay, so it's a bit better, still not perfect, and that text is still, these texts are still too far. So let's see if we can go a bit closer without Z fighting. Okay, so that was 0.3534, I guess.
Is it elevated?
Okay, now one thing we can also do is get rid of all of these ordinals here. Yeah, I think it would probably look better without the STs, right? So if we just hit Control, actually just hit Control V.
Oh, sorry.
Or V, Control V. Okay, and let's completely remove the ordinal. There. Oh, okay.
One.
Now I quite like this. I think this looks
that's
okay.
much better.
Oh, 8, etc. Right, now, of course, what does this mean? That our smallest possible size needs to already be a substantial size. Right, so let's take a look at the model container. So this one is a 10. Right, so the minimum size of the model container is going to be a 10. Right, and then as it goes up, right, we can make it go up to 20. 20 seems fair. Okay, so 10 and 20. We need to remember these two numbers.
10 and 20.
Yeah. Okay. So now I think it's fairly safe. By the way, let's check how far from one another they are. So this podium column is at -7. This one is at -5. So 2. Remember, they need to be at a distance of 2 from one another. Okay.
Distance 2, 20, and 10.
So we're going to delete all of these columns.
Bye.
We're going to apply. So now our little podium column is saved. We can now delete it. All right. Brilliant. Now, we're going to need a bunch of variables. So let's begin with a few privates. So you go private, transform.
Wait a minute. Try. Not try.
I cannot believe that you always get the capitalization wrong. This is a variable type, so it's capital. Well, not all of them, but yes, transform. Okay, there we go. And now you're gonna call this one podium container. Semicolon. Save. Okay, so this one will find the directory and code in the start function. Let's create it here. Go void start. Open, close. I use start for all operations that don't need to happen right away when you launch. Save. Okay, so let's go and take a look. It's called podium container and it's under board. All right.
And under game over.
Well, game over is where we already
function.
are.
So.
No, it's not fun. What are you talking about? Copy.
Not the function.
Paste. Equals. Transform.find.
Lowercase this time?
Dot find. Yes. Open round quote. Capital board. Slash.
This slash?
That one, yeah. I think that's
podium container. It's podium container.
Then podium container. Quote, close round, semicolon, save. Alright, so this one is done. Now,
did we even put the script?
What?
On the object?
Yes. Serialized field. private game object. Game object, yeah. Podium column template. Template. Semicolon. Save. Now, what are we gonna do? I'm thinking. So, we've got the template. We're gonna have to instantiate it when the time comes, but we're gonna have to figure out who's first, who's second, and so on. It will depend on all sorts of information. But we're probably only gonna make it based on money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most
money.
Yeah, most money. But that makes no sense because you could win with less money than the guy who has the most money. So maybe we should come up with some with something similar to what I had in Ovo Smash.
What do you have in Ovo Smash?
Don't remember that you can switch the stats to see the various different categories?
I don't remember that.
Wow, that's crazy. We've done it so many times. When you finish a match, you get stats.
That's
those bars. You don't remember those bars?
I remember those bars in MC squared. Not OSS.
It's ridiculous.
Sorry, I have no idea about OSS. All I remember is the music and the
stats. Okay, so there's stats, and they're gonna be like bars, and we can basically use the same bars as sort of both a podium and a stat measurement tool. That would actually be quite fun. That's pretty cool. I like that. It's making it more complicated, but it's cool. Maybe people will find it interesting. Okay, so we got the column template, which we're going to have to instantiate. Okay, another thing that we're going to make is we need to make a car, okay, like our player, which isn't our player.
Oh.
Okay.
So like just a car there?
Yeah, just a similar thing to the player, which isn't the player. So let's go to our prefabs and find our player, drag him in. Okay. And you see it's got all sorts of stuff. It's got wheels, model, that's good. Now text container, that we don't need. Audio, we could need. So let's keep that, but we're not gonna need the engine. We are gonna need the SFX, not the skids. Siren, we're not gonna need. Okay, so or I guess we could leave the whole copper thing, but that would be a lot of work, so let's not do it. So let's delete this player, duplicate this one, rename this one to podium player, play it.
Player.
Yeah, hit enter. Okay, now this one is actually not gonna have any scripts on it, so we're gonna remove the player script. We're going to remove the motor script, and we're also going to remove the box collider. We don't need it.
What about the lights, the whole siren, the stuff?
Yeah, so siren's going. Audio, we're just keeping the SFX. Text container is going, the rest stays.
We need the wheels, we need the audio.
Yes, so let's apply this to the podium player. Now again, we don't know things. So that's a problem. So we're gonna go back to our game over, and in the podium container we're gonna add our podium column. There it is. Okay, and to our podium column we're gonna add the podium player. And now we're gonna reset it. Boink. Huge amountics. Okay, so let's see. The model is rotated by -90. Let's try and that's what
it's eating up.
But the wheels went all crazy.
Oh.
No, it's not a big deal. So
you're right.
all of these, I think we can rotate them to 0. Yeah, that changes nothing. Okay, so let's try and rotate this one by 90. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, this is just there's so much wrong with what we're doing, right? If we were making a proper, sensible big game, right, you wouldn't do this type of work. Audio is fine, it can stay where it is. Now podium player, we need to make
it a lot smaller.
Smaller. So let's try 0.2, 0.2, and 0.2. That's probably too small. No, seems okay to me.
It's facing the wrong direction.
Yeah, I know, that's okay. We could change that later via code, it's fine. Okay, now the one thing that you guys will see is as the podium column grows, as the model container grows, whoop, the player gets ingested, right? So we need the player to actually be dragged up with the column. All right. So we are gonna do this via code later. Okay.
Okay.
So we could use physics, but I just can't see that being a great idea. But one thing that we could definitely do is we can put an anchor on the model. So you can create an empty on the model, call this one anchor. Yeah, hit enter. Okay, and now this one is at the base of the model, right? Let's put it at the top. Now at the top it'll be 0.5, because if you remember, that was the size that we gave it.
Oh yeah.
Now watch, if we change the size of the model container to say 20, the anchor is still here.
Nice.
So we can make the car
get attached to the anchor.
Yes, well, not exactly. We're not going to parent it because that wouldn't work, but we can make it follow it. Okay, in a late update, for example. So back down to 10 we go. Okay, so here's the car correctly sized and everything like that, and at correct angles. And now the Z is irrelevant to us for now. So room is. Is there anything we should worry about? No, these would be fine. So the only thing is the size being 0.2. That's the only thing we need to remember. So we're going to apply this and simply delete it. And now we can delete the podium color. Oh no, we've made a change to the podium color, so we need to apply and then delete it. Okay, good. Now copy this entire thing, paste it here, and you want to call this one a podium player template. Save. Now, one thing we're going to have to know of the player, it's going to be its material. So we're going to have access to the mesh renderer, which is going to be inside model. We are going to do that in a list. I don't even know if we need to do that. I don't think so. Anyway, so let's start creating a few lists that we're going to need.
Okay.
Okay, so private list.
Private list.
Open. Of type, it's going to be transform. Yeah. And call this one list underscore podium columns. Semicolon. Save. Now you want to copy this, paste it here, and this one is going to be podium players. Save. Okay. Now a few floats. So create a serialized field. Yeah, private float array, and call this one podium column sizes. Column n mn sizes equals new float square bracket 2 close square bracket open squiggly space again 10f comma 20f close squiggly semicolon. Semicolon. Save. Okay, so the default values for this one will be 10 and 20, remember?
Yes, I did.
Now do another serialized field. Private float.
Area again?
No,
no, the size we want, right? The
we
spacing.
want the distance, yeah.
Which is
so
2.
podium, yeah, podium column spacing equals 2f semicolon. Okay, save. Now create a public void setup game over. Okay, save. So we're gonna have to know how many players there are, which is easy because it's accessible from the game manager. But let's begin with 4 int I game manager.script.player count. I think that's what we called it. Yeah, there it is. Semicolon I++. Close, open, enter, close, save. Okay, so now we're gonna need to instantiate as many podium columns as we need.
As the number of players.
That's right. So let's do that, but we also need to add them to the list. So we're gonna begin with that right away. First of all, we need to create those lists. Let's create them in start. So copy this, paste, equals new list, tab, hit tab right away, open, close, round, semicolon, and list podium players, paste, equals new, tab, open, close, round, semicolon. Okay, we're also going to need a few more utilitarian functions like destroy or clean up. So create a void reset game over. Yeah. That's better. Yeah, save. And what we're going to do in here is we're going to go through the entire list of podium columns. This time, not the list of player count, but let's copy this anyway. Copy. Paste it here. Copy this. Paste it here. Whoop, my bad. Goodbye. Dot count. And here you're going to say copy, paste, I. Dot game object.
Don't we need to destroy?
Yes, I forgot it. Destroy, open round, close, semicolon, copy, paste, dot clear. Open, close round, semicolon. Now, this should be exactly the same, so we shouldn't do another loop, really, because the number of cards and the number of podium columns will be the same, so we could just go for the same. So copy this entire thing, paste it here, copy this, paste it here, dot clear. Alright, so we can copy this, paste it here, open, close, round, semicolon. Alright, so now our thing can start comfortably. Save again. So now we can start instantiating the thing. Let's take this, copy, dot paste, dot add, open round, instantiate, open round, podium column template, comma. Okay, so where do we place it? For now, we're going to say simply quaternion.identity. Comma. Oh, I'm a fool. Here, tell it.
You skipped the vector 3, right?
Tell it vector 3.0. Comma. Close bracket. Dot transform, close round, semicolon. No, you need a close round and semicolon. Save. Okay, so now it's been added to the list and created at the same time, which is fairly nice. We're gonna have to access a bunch of stuff in it when we set it up. So we are gonna have to have references to all of those things. So what I think we should do is we should create some small, simple scripts that we can access that deal with the columns and the podium cars too. Okay, because otherwise it's going to be too much work all centralized from here. It's not particularly clever. So let's go ahead and create 2 more scripts.
We have quite a lot of scripts now.
That's fine. There's nothing in this. Okay, so go ahead and call it podium column. Yeah. And now create a new one and call this one podium player. Now let's go to our prefabs, and then we're gonna go to anyway, podium column, podium player. Now save. Okay, now this guy's gonna complain a little bit. Let it recompile everything. Okay, it's happy now. So we can open this script and we can open this script. Okay, it doesn't look like we're gonna be done today by any means. There's still quite a lot to do, right? If we simply had put like red has won and that was it, we would have been done ages ago. But this will take a while, making it nice. Okay, save. And save this one too. Say, let's change our mind here. So here for podium columns, you're gonna change this to podium column. There it is. And this one is podium player. There it is. So copy this, paste it here. Copy this, paste it here. Okay, now here it cannot be a transform. So we need to get component, open of type, and podium column. Yeah, one up. Tab, close of type, open close round, semicolon. Save. Okay, now we're gonna instantiate all of the cars. So copy this, paste it here. And same thing, but this one is gonna be podium player. Copy this, paste it here. Save.
Podium player template.
Oh, good point. Copy this, paste this, save. Okay, so here we've got everything instantiated, and that's great. And now we're gonna have to set up each and every one of them with certain information that we're going to have. Now, the concern that I have is that we still don't know who is first, who is second, third, etc., etc., and there's no real way of calculating. Okay, so we are gonna have to come up with a way to calculate that first. So the way we're going to do it is we're going to go into Game Manager and we're going to ask it to do all of this work for us. Okay? So I think the things that we should account for in the final standing, so to speak, would be what lap you're on.
And the money.
And the money you have.
Yeah, lap money.
That's that. Right? So let's do exactly that. So here after test end game, we're gonna say void calculate game over score. Game over score. Open, save. Okay, so one thing that I want to look at is, as far as I understand, we should already have a lovely dictionary that can help us. So let's try and find it. Oh boy.
We could just search.
Hit Control F. Sorted. Type the word sorted. There it is. So it's for dictionary race position, but it's got an int, so we could technically reuse it. I don't know how I feel about that. No, let's not do that. Let's copy. Plus it's private, so let's leave it alone. Copy this and paste it here. And this one is going to be public and float int, and this one is going to be dict, not race positions, but let's call this game over scores. Scores. Save. Okay, so now we're going to have to make interesting decisions. we should start from. So the person at the bottom should be the last one, and the person at the top should be the first one, I guess. But maybe we should instead do it reverse, meaning the person at the. Right, wait a moment. This is not going to be game over scores. This is going to be game over player order. Yeah, just put that, player order. Yeah, save. And one thing we're definitely going to need in the podium player is we're going to need a public int player ID, or car ID as we did for the other one. Let's do it, car ID, semicolon. Yeah, we're gonna need to know which ID we're setting up. Okay, so back to our game manager. Let's drag it over. Oi, listen to daddy. There we go. Okay, so we need to populate this dictionary. So where do we create our first dictionary? It's probably in start is my guess. Yeah, who knows where. Okay.
Dictionary's positions is here.
Oh, lol. There. Okay, copy this. Paste it here. Copy all of this. Paste it here. Save. Copy this. Okay. Paste it here. Dot clear. Okay, so here we're gonna say I'm actually a bit puzzled. Need to think this through, because we're gonna use whatever score we reach, okay, to feed the to feed the key. And then the value needs to return us the player ID, but the player ID is not going to tell us the position. So we're gonna have to do something with that too. We're gonna have to have some kind of list for that, I think. But if we have a list and a sorted dictionary, we can't actually go and use them because the sorted dictionary is not compatible with indices. We cannot use indices. We could have the sorted dictionary just to do the calculations and then two lists. And I think that would be the cleverest way of dealing with this. So we're gonna do that. Okay, so create public list and of type int, close, and this one you're gonna call list underscore game over sorted IDs. IDs plural. Yeah, save, semicolon, and then save. So you don't remember this from Oversmash, but in Oversmash, when you finish a match, you're able to click on various buttons to show you different stats for different things. For example, how long did you take for your turns, how many matches you found, how many combos you've done, and so on. Do we want to be able to do that? So that it shows you first, second, third, etc., 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 based on whatever algorithm we've got, and then you can click on most money, and then it changes the size of the bars to show you who has the most money, or most laps, fastest laps, whatever.
We can do that.
Yeah, that's a lot more work though, eh? So, you tell me. We're gonna need at least the IDs, and they need to be in order, and we're gonna have to know.
I think it's too little to be. It's just money and laps, so I think we can just put the text for each player. Okay.
Yeah, but then I'm sure that some players are gonna go like, "Why am I third?" They're not gonna know. So maybe we should still put some like type of score name or something. So let's create another public list int, copy, paste, and call this one sorted scores. Just score. There, save. Okay, and make this one private again. Yeah, save. Okay, copy this. Here, paste it. Equals new list int.
Oops.
Copy all of this. Paste it here. Copy this. Paste it here. Save. Okay. Finally, we got all of this mess sorted out. Now, here we also want to clear the others. So you go list underscore game over server IDs dot clear. Open close round semicolon, and then list underscore.
Oh,
list.
sorry.
Try again. Dot clear. Also close round. Semicolon. Save. Okay, so here, let's begin. So we're gonna say for I lower than player count, semicolon,
Quiet.
semicolon, I plus plus, close. So we need to go through all of the players to figure out there's this score idea of theirs, and then feed it to the dictionary. So tell it this. Go. First we need to calculate that score. So let's create an int for that. Create a. Sure, create an int for that. Go int temp score semicolon. Okay, now the temp score needs to be calculated somehow. So here, create an int.
I really can't tell today.
Yeah, get game over score. Open around int PID. Okay, so we need to get this one back. So let's go get the money raw just as it is. So we're gonna say int returnable equals 0. Equals 0, semicolon. Okay, now save. Now we're gonna say here at the bottom right, return returnable. Look, you just wrote that there. That's funny. Okay, good. And now here we're going to just build it. So we're gonna say returnable plus equals. And here we're gonna say, oh dear, what did we call it? List players, I think. List of players. It's a variable. Players, not pariahs. Players. Square bracket PID. Close square bracket dot score. Semicolon. And the other one, so now we need to decide how much is every lap worth in score. Okay, this is a different concept than the money, right? Score. How much is every lap worth in score?
I don't know.
Well, what do you think? I think it should be worth a substantial amount, like 2,000.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're on lap 8, but you have $1,000, you would end up having 17,000 points.
Whew. Yeah, I think we should do that.
Yeah, because suppose that somebody won, like you did last time, right? You were on lap
I won
1.
with lap 1.
Right. You won with lap 1. So but the winner should get like a huge amount of score, like basically an impossible to beat amount of score, or simply some kind of bull that says no, you won, that's it, you're first, end of story. But no, we should just score it, I think. Say 10,000 for the win.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Actually, that may not be sufficient.
Because you said other one is 2,000, so you just need to cross the lap 5 times to get there.
Yeah, so I would say 10,000 for that.
You were on lap 8 last time.
Was I? And you were
Yep.
lap 1 still?
Yep. You were lap 8.
No, I think you're getting badly confused between matches.
Oh, well, on one match somebody was lap 8.
Yes, I know, but then the others were on lap 5. Anyway, so create a serialized field, private int, and call this one game over lap score multiplier equals 2,000.
And 200.
Okay, now copy this entire thing, paste it, paste it here, and since we're here, do another thing and go private int winning player. Semicolon. Save. Okay, so no game over lap, but rather game over win score multiplier. Save. And give it 20,000. Just add a 0. Save. Okay, that should be fairly safe. So where's the debug log that we had before? Can't remember.
Testing game. It's testing game. It's test end game.
Oh, it says test at the end. Thanks. So here go winning player equals winning player equals player color names player ID. No, just player ID. Copy this, paste it here, semicolon. Save. Okay, and then call calculate game over score. Yeah, you don't need to type 17 letters.
Calculate game over.
Over close around. You can probably literally type 4. Okay, and for now we'll stop here. So winning player, we got the winning player. Awesome. Returnable, that's fine. Now here you go. If PID equals winning player. Close round, open squiggly, enter, close squiggly, returnable plus equals. Plus equals. Type the word multiplier even though that's wrong. There it is. Okay, semicolon. Hit control R twice to rename this one. Yeah, one more time. Okay, and remove multiplier. It's got nothing to do with anything. Okay, save. And then here you're gonna say, actually this one we're gonna leave for last. And here you're gonna say returnable plus, yeah, let's copy, I'm lazy, copy this. Paste it here. Plus equal PID. Ooh. Score, and this one called completed laps, I think, or something. Just type lap, because I'm not sure. Type lap. Okay, highest lap, that's the one you want. Times and multiplier. Semicolon. Okay, so there's the score, and it will be returned. Fantastic, and it gets right here. So here you're gonna say temp score equals get game over score I. Semicolon. No, not square bracket, round bracket. I. Okay, that's good. Now what we're gonna need to do is we're gonna need to check if the dictionary already contains a casted as float version of this particular number. Okay, so we're gonna say if dict game yeah, add a few letters. dict game dot contains key, open round, open another round, float. And we need change this to float. And here it's gonna cry and cast this as a float.
So many floats.
Close the round. Okay, and here say contains key temp score. Close round again. Open squiggly, enter, close squiggly. Change this if to a while.
Oh wow.
Save. Okay, so as long as our dictionary already has this temp score, let's increase the temp score of 0.0001. So copy the temp score, paste it here. Yay! Plus equals 0.0001. F. Semicolon.
Why that number?
Yeah. Well, because it's such. First of all, this is not an actual float; it's an int, right? So we're dealing with ints. So they are floats without dots, essentially, right? But if we have two players that have exactly the same score, which could happen, they both need to be third, or they both need to be whatever number they end up being, right?
Okay.
In order to do that, what we do is we add this key, like we keep on adding to the key for as many as there are. Suppose, for example, there's two players with the same score and the third player we discover has exactly the same score. So we would need three players to be fourth, fourth, and fourth, or something, right? In order for us to do that, we need to be able to store them as individuals, so the key needs to be different, but it needs to be so similar that when we then round it back to an int, we get the same score. Do you understand? But we can still order them using the power of the sorted dictionary, which is quite nice. Okay. So temp score is blah blah blah, and now finally here we can now say dict game over play order blah blah blah. There it is. Dot add open round. Now you're gonna have to say a key and a value. So the key is temp score, and the value is I. Close round semicolon. So now in the dictionary, this score, whatever it is, has been added, and the ID of the player has been added to. So that this will go through all of the players, increase the score as many times as it needs to, depending on how many players have the same score, and then insert it into the dictionary, which automatically sorts them from lowest to highest. Okay, so we're gonna get the last player being 0, and the highest player be, well, 0 it doesn't really count because sorted dictionaries don't work with indices. We cannot for loop through them. We need to for each through them. Okay?
Okay.
So we are now going to for each through them, and we are going to add from lowest to highest all of the players in our lists. All right? So here you say for each.
There's all the loops in this function.
Yes, for each. And here you're gonna say key value pair. There it is. Key value pair. Open out of type. Float, comma, int. Close the bracket. K, space K. We're gonna call it K. That's the name of our variable. Space, in, dict, blah, 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 blah. There it is. Close round, open squiggly, enter, close squiggly. Now we're looping through that thing with each step the earliest key value pair is assigned. Right? So here now we need to populate our list. And we're gonna say list game over sorted IDs, copy this, paste, dot add, open round, k dot value. Yeah, close round, semicolon. I'll copy this entire thing, paste it here, and here we're gonna say copy this, paste it here.
Oh, I pressed paste.
Undo, copy, paste it here, and here you're gonna say k dot key, but now it's gonna be unhappy. Save, because that's a float. So we're gonna say mathf dot round to
int.
int, open round, close round, save. Okay, so now our lists have been completely built, and we should simply stop here because there's still plenty of work to do and we ran out of time. And our game basically doesn't work at the moment. Well, it does actually. It will never go into that game over screen, so we'll be okay. Now let me think this through for a second. So here we got the list. It's correctly sorted from bottom to top. And the ones that are the same, though, we still don't know their ordinals. So we're going to have to figure out their ordinals later. Though it may be a good idea to do it in this here. So I think it would make sense to give them ordinals here. Let's do that before we stop today. So what we're going to do to do the ordinals is we're going to create another list. Copy this one, paste it here, and here call this one ordinals. Yeah, save. Okay, now copy this, and we need to go into start where we set them all up, and paste it, copy, paste, copy. Okay, so now the ordinals need to be reset. Right here, dot clear, open round, that's not, save. Okay, and now we're gonna loop through the list of scores and we're gonna make decisions based on that. But we need to go in the loop, we need to go backwards. So in order to do that, what we'll do is we'll reverse both lists and then loop. Okay? So now that the first player is gonna be at the top. Well, at the bottom, I suppose. So here now you're gonna say copy this, paste it here, dot reverse. Open, close, round, semicolon. Copy this, paste it here, copy this, paste it here, save. Okay, now for int I equals 0, I lower than this dot count, which is the same as the player count, but whatever. Semicolon I plus plus, close, open, save.
Whoops, I think I added an extra space, it's fine.
You never closed the second squiggly though, which is a bit of an issue. Save. Save again. Okay, so now we're looping through these IDs and, well, I suppose the sorted scores, and we need to check if the sorted scores is the same as the previous value. So create an int here and call it previous value and go equals -1. Semicolon. Okay, and create another int, call it current value equals -1, semicolon. Okay, now here we're gonna say oh wait, and we also need int counter equals 0. Okay, we're done now. So current value, you wanna copy it, paste, equals, copy this, paste it here, I, semicolon. Now before we do that, we should probably check if the current value was we should probably check if the current value was -1. So let's do this. Go if off, it's much better.
Off.
If current value lower than 0, open, enter, close, save. Then copy this, paste it here, put an else already, close it, save. Okay, so if current value is lower than 0, current value is going to be this value. Copy previous value, paste it here, equals current value, semicolon, and list sorted ordinals, copy this, dot add, counter, close around, semicolon. So now we've added the 0 to this. There could be, technically speaking, 2 first places. No, there couldn't be. So we're going to say counter plus plus here. It's simply impossible for there to be 2 firsts. So that's good. Now what we can do here is we can copy this line over here, paste it here, save. Now we need to check if the current value is different than the previous value. So if current value not previous value, close around, open, save.
Oh.
Copy this, paste it here, copy these, paste them here, save. Else, open squiggly, enter, close squiggly. So if the current value is the same as the previous value, that means we have 2 players at the same, on the same spot. Okay, so let's say that we're now in the second spot, and we check the second player. The second player has, say, 10,000 points. Okay. Then we go to the third player. The third player again has 10,000 points, which we have figured out here. So we go, wait, 10,000 points is the same as previous value. That means that we have exactly the same position. So we are going to copy this, paste it here, save. But we are not going to increment the counter, because it needs to have exactly the same ordinal. You don't understand any of what we're doing, do you?
We are ordering the players.
We've already ordered the players. But now we need to determine which text
first.
we're going to have to put there.
Yeah,
first,
so
second.
if they're the same text, so like...
Right, suppose that there's 2 of them that are second, right? We want to put 2 and 2 on their columns. Mm-hmm. And the columns need to be 2 tall, okay? Or whatever. And in order for us to do that, we need to know that those columns are remaining of that size. And the counter is what helps us go down in size of columns.
Okay.
Okay, and it goes down after the first player, because there can only be the first player. And then when we know that we've calculated the first player and we got second and third and so on, we can now check the value of their score, right? Which is already ordered. So we go, is this value the same as the one we found before?
Yeah.
If the answer is no, which will always be no for the second player, okay, then we will change the previous value to the new one, and then we will tell our guy that he's now in position 1, because the first one was position 0. This one is now position 1. And now we're going to say position 1 goes up to position 2. Do another cycle. Suppose that the third player has exactly the same score as the second player. Okay, it checks it here and it goes, yeah, it's the same score. Okay, then add this one to position 1 as well. But don't make position 1 go up. So then the fourth player gets checked. It's got different score. Okay.
We need to put that guy in third.
Yes. And right now in the code, it's not doing it. Okay, I'm thinking. Wait a moment. So if we increment the counter first, it would make more sense. Yeah, so change this to -1, cut this, put it here. Okay, so counter will now be 0, save. Okay, every time we're different, increment the counter here. Just paste. That's fine, plus. Destruction! Okay, move this here, save. Okay, and the counter instead does not go up. if we are the same. Yes, and the counter will go up first and then it will become third. Okay, we're good. So this should actually work. We have all of our lists ready and operational for next time. Okay.
And we can also add that it goes to the game state.
Yeah, so copy this setup game over. And actually, the change state will go there.
Yeah, change game state.
Okay, so call change, copy code change game state. And go right here. Open round. Game state. Dot.
Game over.
Game over. Close round. Semicolon. Save. Okay. So for now this won't work, but we're in a good spot. Save. And now change game state can actually the game over thingy. Case game state dot game over. Colon. Enter into break. And here what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to game over manager. Dot script dot I can't remember. Setup game over. So setup game over. Open close round. Semicolon. Save. And what else do we have here? Reset game over. Yeah, we're good. Okay. Cool. So we'll stop here for today. We've effectively broken our game. So when we win, stuff is not gonna work. There's actually an interesting thing because we'll be in a different screen, and so our input manager shouldn't. Yeah, it won't do anything crazy. We're fine. Yeah.
So it will just not go into it will go into that state and make a mess.
No, it'll be okay. It'll be fine. The only thing that will happen is that the car will keep on driving forward and maybe land on a mine or whatever. We should probably stop that. We should force it to immediately stop.
Yeah.
We'll worry about that cosmetic stuff later. Okay, so thanks very much for watching. It's been a long one this time. A lot of code, and we're not even close to being done. But maybe next time. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
See ya.